voting. It has to do with how you understand your profession and the way that interfaces life in the polis. It has to do with how you understand your family life and the way that intersects with life in the polis and things of that sort. The more restricted contemporary usage is, of course, entirely defensible, but it is restricted, and it kind of hurts your ability to understand the relationship between Christian faith and politics, which is a broader thing than simply going to the polls and voting. It does include that. I want to encourage you to go vote, but I don't want to reduce it to that. Okay, so what I want to do is talk about Christian views of this thing, of this life in the polis before God, something like that. And to do that, I want to take a really, really long wind-up. So we're going to have 3 sessions and start with some biblical passages. It's a selection of biblical passages. A comprehensive understanding of biblical passages in response to these things would take us a really long time. And we don't have that kind of time. So what we're going to have is a kind of illustrative selection, but it can't really be entirely adequate to everything that you find in every passage of Scripture where there's some variation. And you would expect that because you've got a book. Books always looks like, I like to say, it always looks like one book, but that's a delusion of the printing press. It couldn't have looked that way for a long time. It's really a collection of manuscripts and books that then are put in one collection. And so it's a collection, and it's put together over a long period of time in different languages and in different places. And you would not be surprised then to learn that the attitudes toward things like life in the polis are not always the same. For one thing, life in the polis shifts and changes over time too. Well, we want to do that. We want then also to talk about selected texts from Christian tradition, and that's what we'll do next time. I would talk about a number of different things there, but just illustratively, you do have some Christian writers who think if you're looking for a good society, a polis that's good, it simply doesn't exist on earth. And there are a number of Christian writers like that. Most of the so-called desert fathers who have regained a sort of curious popularity in contemporary commercial America. I don't really understand what's going on there, but I'm not going to worry about why it's popular. Now, we will look at a couple of passages from some of them, and you'll see that they don't really think that there is a good society on earth, and so the way you participate in politics is minimal. Huh? You go to become a hermit in a cave, etc. Now, this becomes the basis later for monasticism, which is not the same, because monasticism then involves a community, but it also generally removed to some extent and degree from the society at large. But you've got a major answer there. You've got another major answer from a writer early on, Eusebius of Caesarea, who is attached to the emperor's court, Constantine's court. And Constantine is the first Christian emperor. And Eusebius' answer to where the good society is and how you understand Christianity and politics is essentially that once you have a Christian emperor, once you have a good person running things, you got it. Okay? Now that's something. And then you have Augustine later, who starts out that way, but of course a big event happens during his time, and that is Rome falls. And so, since Rome falls, this precipitates a kind of rethink of that sort of position out of Eusebius. Well, you had a Christian emperor and so forth, and you've got a nominally Christian empire, and whoop, you have all these characters show up from Europe and ruin it, you know? That's like I like to say, because I come from an Italian family, right? So there you go. And that's another view, and what Augustine is going to think is that you can talk about a good society in a comparative sense.